Good morning, everyone. Could we all take our seats now? Thank you. Welcome to Australia Day 2021, and thank you for turning up on such a glorious day. I'll just go through some of the housekeeping. Make sure that your devices are either turned off or silent. That's especially true for Councillor Steele, whose phone always seems to go off in the middle of a meeting, Warren. So if people could put it on silent, or that'll be good. Okay, the toilets are on the ground floor, down below here. There's also a lift for people who need to get to the ground floor for the toilets. The exits are on both sides of the hall. We will start off the ceremony with the awards, and then we'll go to the citizenship. You're welcome to take photos. Our photographer is also taking photos. Please let me know, or the Emily or Kathy know if you don't want your photo taken, or we can do that. This event is being live streamed, so all exciting. And we'll be having refreshments at the end. I'd like to just acknowledge some of our VIPs and dignitaries. We've got Mrs. Fiona Phillips, MP member for Gilmore, here with us today. We've got Mr. Paul Earl, representing the Honorary Gareth Ward MP. We've got Mayor Councillor Mark Honey, Deputy Mayor Councillor Andrew Sloan, and with us we've got Councillors Neil Riley, Councillor Warren Steele, Councillor Kathy Rice, Councillor Don Watson, and Councillor Mark Way. We've also got Chief Inspector Gordon Dunlop from the Lake Illawarra Police District, and our Australia Day Ambassador Liz Deep Jones, who we got to know last night over dinner. Okay, at this stage, it's slightly different from what we were going to have, but I'd like to call up Auntie Joyce to do Welcome to Country for us. Thank you, Auntie Joyce.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Today, first of all, I'd like to start off by paying my respects to my elders, to Aboriginal elders that are past, very few that are still present in today's Aboriginal communities that are connected to countries and that are some of our traditional people. I'd like to pay respect to my elders and the elders before them that have fought hard for justice for Aboriginal people in this country. I'd like to thank my elders who taught us how to be resilient, how to be strong. I'd like to speak about, I've seen the electoral roll there, and of course the 26th always brings up about Aboriginal people who were counted as the flora and fauna in Australia and didn't get the right to vote until 1967. I think about 1938 when there was a silent protest walked down the streets of Sydney by Ferguson and some of those elders that fought hard for the rights of Aboriginal people. I think about this area here, Kiama. My father's Irish, my mother is Aboriginal. I think about my great-grandmother who was a full-blood Aboriginal and in 1910 was relocated from Minamurra to La Perouse Mission by the Aboriginal Protection Board because she'd committed the crime. It was against the law for Aboriginal people to be associated in any way or have alcohol. I think about where I come from, La Perouse, Botany Bay, where we take this day as being a day of reflection, of respect, and of remembering. We take this day as being a day of mourning for our ancestors and our people. It's a very, very important day for us. It's an important day to make sure that we speak about the history of this country. It took a whole referendum. Non-Aboriginal people voted for Aboriginal people to have the vote. And I think off the top of my head in Sydney, it was 97% of non-Aboriginal people. We're hoping in the future that we can celebrate a date together. It's unfortunate that we can't celebrate. It is tinged with a lot of mourning and with still struggling to make sure that the true history is put in the history books, that Aboriginal people, who are the oldest living country, not just, on the planet, the oldest living country, where this area here, there was over 3,000 full-blood Aboriginal people. It's believed that the last big corroboree was held here at Kiama. About my elders and the stories and the notes that they've left behind that lived and were born up here near the quarry. It's about the black history even here and making sure that those things are remembered. The way of life, we are a nomadic people and our traditional foods come from the sea. So our people, they were the doctors, the lawyers and the healers in our communities. So on behalf of the Dharawal, Wadi people of this area, I'd like to welcome everybody here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Joyce, for such a heartfelt welcome. Now I'd like to introduce the Mayor, who's going to give his civic welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's celebration. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on where we meet, and they are the Wadi people of the Dharawal Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and also pay my respects to those of Indigenous heritage here today. And it's always great to hear Auntie Joyce's, perhaps expressing the ideas of the Indigenous community. When you look at this area of Kiama and you look at even the audience that we have here today, we are basically a white Anglo-Saxon enclave. And to embrace the other nations of the world, I think it's really refreshing. We're seeing that change, and I think also to adopt the culture of the Aboriginals and what they can offer for our communities is terrific. Last Australia Day, the theme was community, selflessness, courage and resistance. I spoke of how those values and qualities would help us recover from the disastrous summer bushfires. Of course, things got worse rather than better in 2020. It's been an exhausting year, but our selflessness, our courage and our resilience is still shining through and helping us meet the incredible challenges facing us today. I look forward to our Australia Day Ambassador sharing her thoughts on this year's theme, Reflect, Respect and Celebrate. I think it's an opportunity for us all to just do that, to reflect and show the respect and to celebrate us as a nation. We've been through a lot in the last couple of years, and we've probably got some way to go with this COVID. So let's take time for a national health check. Unfortunately, we've seen what happens to even the greatest countries when the focus on what divides us rather than binds us together, and the resulting of that. Australia has avoided serious division, unrest, partly through luck, a fair bit of good management, and also our egalitarian, I told you, look, egalitarian instincts. But sometimes we need to stop, even in the middle of an international health pandemic, and take stock. Reflect on what we've been through, respect how others have been affected, and celebrate how we are getting through this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would now like to ask our Australia Day Ambassador, Liz Deep-Jones, to speak.
Why, Mark, thank you for that fabulous introduction. Well,
Sorry.
I'm just joking.
No, I forgot a part.
No, that's okay. It's all right.
You're right, I forgot a part. No, I'm embarrassed.
I do know who I am. It's okay. It's all good.
I was supposed to read out a bio of Liz and I've forgotten.
But that's all boring anyway. Well, we'll just stay up here together for a little bit.
All these great things that
No.
she's done, and now I've forgotten it.
It's all made up. It's all made up.
It's not. It's in your little folder there. So I'm
You can
sorry
read it in
about
your
that.
folder.
I was supposed to do that and I haven't. So
It was all those red wines last night at the
yeah.
Encore Bar and Grill. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
so I'll just have to. I'll just walk out the door, okay?
I know.
Sorry about that. So Liz Deep-Jones.
I don't think I'm going to be invited back. Just first of all, I hope you don't mind when I ran off the stage, but I wanted to acknowledge Auntie Joyce personally, because what she did today was quite significant, because for Indigenous Australians, as we know, today is a very difficult day for them. It's their day of mourning. It's January 26th is the day their land was dispossessed, and they lost their culture. And there was frontier violence. So I just admire the fact about her courage to come here. It would be very difficult for her, and it's so important that she did come here so she could educate us, so we can learn more, and get a greater understanding of what January 26 means to Indigenous Australians, and great for all the lovely young ones that are here today. I'm so happy to see you here today as well, that we can learn, and it's all about that respect from our elders in the Indigenous communities, and learning and being more educated about their history, and it's also our history, it's our shared history. It's something that I didn't learn at school, so yes, I pay my respects first of all to Auntie Joyce and her people, and I'd also like to pay my respects to the Wadi Wadi people of the Dharawal Nation, past, present and future. I'm so honoured to be here as your Australia Day Ambassador. It means a lot to me. I wasn't supposed to be here. Mum and I'm here with my mum, Mum Adeep. Mum, do you want to stand up very quickly? This is my mum, Jeanette. She's learnt the royal wave. So we were supposed to be in Maureen. Unfortunately, due to COVID reasons, we couldn't go there. Not from our point of view, but anyway, it was cancelled. And the Australia Day committee contacted me and said, would you like to come to Kiama? Of course, I love Kiama. I've got friends down here. I've been here several times. I've spent time at the cafe near the Blowhole. The cafe's is it Manning Street? One of the streets down from where I'm staying at Surf Beach. Yeah, Manning Street. So there's wonderful, I've got all my little favourite spots down here, and I'm not a surfie, but I love the surf. I was telling Felix earlier about my dreaded surf story, but I do love the beach. So, sorry, I'm waffling on here, but I do want to also acknowledge our dignitaries, of course. the Mayor, Mark Honey, and his lovely wife, Anne, who's here today. Australia Day Chair Committee Councillor Mark Westerhoff, our wonderful MC, and Lorraine, and all the wonderful staff that have looked after Mum and I already over the last day and a half, Emily and Jessica and Kathy, and all the rest of the staff at Kiama Council, and all the councillors that are here today. You've already been acknowledged by Mark, so I won't continue down that path. Chief Inspector Gordon Dunlop, looking dashing over there when he walked in. I thought, oh, who are you? I have to know more about you. And I have to get on the right side. I do tend to have a lead foot. So, but also a big welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for making the time to be here today. The wonderful sisters from the Jamberoo Abbey. I'll be on my best behaviour, I promise. I'll try. Thank you everyone for coming. It's a big effort, and especially during COVID. They are testing times. They have been difficult, but you've made time to come here today. I really appreciate it. It's a very important day to celebrate, and I do love that we have so many young ones that are here today as well, that are such proud Australians. Sometimes begrudgingly they're here with Mum and Dad, but I do hope you enjoy the day. As I said, it is a great honour and privilege. I take my Australia Day ambassadorship very seriously. I'm a very, very proud Aussie of Lebanese heritage, and I'm very proud of my Lebanese culture. But first and foremost, I'm an Australian. I come from a family of, I have two brothers and three sisters, and all my siblings have partners from Chinese background, Ghanaian, Chilean and Greek, and I have the wonderful token Irishman. So Mum is lucky, she's got 13 grandchildren. So multiculturalism, of course, is extremely important to me. It's what makes up Australia, and that's what makes us so wonderful. And for me, it's all about being inclusive of all our cultures, enjoying your culture, sharing your culture, but first of all, also remembering that we're Australian. We're given this amazing opportunity to live in this country. And this day is also extra special to me because my father, who came here from Lebanon in the early 50s, came here for a better life, came here to the land of what he used to call milk and honey. And he was forever grateful that he had the opportunity to come to this country and live and bring up his children, his family, in a safe and peaceful environment. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit emotional. We lost him in 2004, and sorry, I just need to have a glass of water. He had a very big impact on me. He had a great passion for Australia and a great love for Australia and great love for people, and he's passed that on to me, and it's something that I live for. I love people from all backgrounds. I don't care who you are. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to have a drink with you. I'm going to share my experiences with you, and I want to share your stories and hear your stories. And that's how I actually ended up becoming, and why I became a journalist, because of my curiosity of people and my love of people. And it was all my father's fault. We grew up in a green grocery store. He had a fruit and vegetable store, with my mum, who worked very hard 7 days a week, bringing up the 5 children. And we lived near Maroubra Beach. So Dad wanted us to be real Aussies, so he'd take us to the beach. So we went, body surfing and boogie boarding nearly every single morning. I love my Vegemite, I don't know, but I'm a big Vegemite eater. But at school, at the time when I was growing up, our food was smelly, because Mum put so much garlic in our food. That's why I never had any boyfriends when I was going through school. They all stayed away from me, thanks Mum. Tabbouleh and the hummus, and, I had the smelly sandwiches. But my best friend at the time was Jewish background, and she used to always bring the matzo with butter, and so we used to swap sandwiches. I'd give her my smelly sandwiches, and I'd have her matzo. So that's what I love about Australia, is our inclusiveness, our sharing of cultures and coming together. And also when I first was growing up, I spoke Arabic, was my first language. And I remember when I was at school, I think I was only in infant school, and someone said tears, the word tears, and I thought, and the young, one of the girls was crying. I thought, oh, well, what's going on? Why is she crying? And I said tears, and I started laughing because tears to me means bottom. So this kid is still going, oh my God, they're talking about her bottom. What's happening? Sorry, sisters, I'm just sorry. So I was mortified. But it brings me to the point about identity as well. My son, who I said earlier, is half Irish, half Lebanese, born in Sydney. And he just started high school, and he came home one day and he said, Mum, they call me a wog. And I said, oh, what? I was so angry. I said, wog, that shouldn't be used these days. You guys, the boys should be more educated and more inclusive. And I said, that's terrible. He said, oh, Mum, don't take it so seriously. But he said, they don't believe that I'm actually Irish. And I said, well, but you're Australian. You're Australian with an Irish Lebanese heritage. And I said, so just tell them you're an Aussie. They said, they don't believe me. So he said, so I've made up this word, so I'm Lebrish. So he calls himself Lebrish. And I said, okay, call yourself whatever you want. I think that works. But for someone like me as well, Australia is a great land of opportunity. And I believe you can achieve anything you put your mind to, kids. Anything, everything. Nothing is impossible. It's all possible. And I'm proof of that. Like I said, I came from little beachside suburb, from a Lebanese family, speaking family. And I ended up as a journalist at SBS Television, which you forgot to tell everybody, Mark. At SBS Television, I travelled the world with my journalism work. I interviewed people like the Dalai Lama. I met Nelson Mandela, who's one of my idols. Would you like to hear a quick story about Nelson Mandela? Okay, I'll tell you this story. I've got one about Dalai Lama. I'll tell you later because I'll probably take up too much time. So I was very excited. I was working in sport at the time, sport news at SBS Television, and it was just before the Olympic Games in 2000, and Nelson Mandela was visiting. So as soon as I found out, I just thought, okay, I've got to go and interview him. So at the time, our Indigenous community were going to protest during the Olympics. And so I wanted to get his point of view. So anyway, went along to this, it was a hotel in Sydney, and all the media had to stand behind a bollard. There was a big line. We weren't allowed to cross the line. And Nelson Mandela, we were told, was coming down the elevator, and then he was going to come out and meet a whole line of people which were in front of us to greet them, and he would address people in one room and then over to the other room. So we had to behave and stand behind this line. Weren't allowed to use lights because Nelson Mandela's eyes were very sensitive to lighting because of all that time he served in prison. Anyway, he comes out, and next thing I see Nelson Mandela just not even a couple of metres from me. And so I said to my cameraman, Nelson Mandela is here, and there is no way on earth, no way, I'm trying to be polite, sorry, sisters, no way on earth that I am going to miss meeting Nelson Mandela when he is right in front of me. So I went under the bollard. Don't follow my example, break rules, but sometimes it's handy. So I went under the bollards. I stood in the line in between all the other people waiting to meet him. And so he comes along, and he's shaking everyone's hands, and then he comes down, and he was really tall. He's over 6 feet tall, which I was really surprised about. So he's holding my hand. I'm like, oh my God, Nelson Mandela is holding my hand. So I'm looking up, and I couldn't speak. Nothing would come out of my mouth, which is highly unusual. So they go, oh, and I thought, Liz, say something. So I said, oh, Mr. Mandela, it's such a great honour and pleasure to meet you. And he said, oh no, the pleasure is all mine. And that was my wonderful meeting with Nelson Mandela. Anyway, there's more to the story, but I won't continue it. I'll be here all day, as you can tell. So look, I think we did go through very testing times, especially obviously last year, and we're living through this pandemic. But I'm so proud, of us Aussies with our courage, our bravery, our resilience, as Mark alluded to earlier. But that whole thing about we stick together and we work together, and we've really basically nearly fought it off, and we're the envy of basically the rest of the world. You know, when you see what is going on around the rest of the world, we are, as my dad said, we are the lucky country, and I really treasure that. So I think, have I taken up too much time? Can I say a little bit more and stuff? So just very quickly as well, I'm also quite an activist. I'm a human rights activist, so I've been very active in the space of calling on the release of refugees. Because unfortunately, you know, I feel they are mistreated in our country, and I wish we were more welcoming to refugees. So I've been behind a campaign called the #GameOver campaign, and the wonderful thing is that just more recently, quite a few of the refugees have been released. So it's been a wonderful victory for us. I work alongside one of my best friends, Craig Foster, better known as Fozzie. We work together at SBS Television. So we've been running that campaign. There's still a few more hundred refugees to release, so hopefully the government have been great and slowly releasing them, but after 8 years of indefinite detention. And also I've been working on a campaign called the Play for Lives campaign, and that was during the height of COVID. My friend Craig Foster set it up, and I worked with him very closely, where instead of, because of during COVID, sporting communities, I mean, we couldn't really do anything in large groups. So he said, okay, there's a big lapse in volunteers because of COVID. So he said, instead of playing for points, let's play for lives. So we galvanised sporting communities, sporting stars, local residents, anyone and everyone who would join us. And we volunteered at a centre called the Addison Road Community Centre in Marrickville. And it's the first time actually in a long time that I've volunteered, and Mark was proudly telling me yesterday about how there is a very big volunteer community here in Kiama, which warms my heart. I'm very impressed about that. It's wonderful. And then I realised the importance of volunteering, and we had people from all backgrounds. It didn't matter what level of society, middle class, people who had lost their jobs. I lost all my contracts last year, so I was unemployed, probably unemployable. Luckily my husband came in handy, and he still has his job, so he got me through. But it was really important to be on that cold face, if you like, of volunteering. And we had homeless people, international students who unfortunately couldn't get JobKeeper or JobSeeker. So we had hundreds and hundreds of 20-something-year-olds that were homeless, couldn't pay their rent any longer because they'd lost their jobs. So we were feeding. So what we were doing, packing essential food items into boxes, and they'd come and collect a box and take that home. Sometimes they'd come 2 or 3 times a week. So we realised we were feeding close to 20,000 people a month, which is sort of horrifying. And it got worse, even worse during the height of COVID. It's come down a little bit, but there are still people doing it tough. But what I love about us is that we do come together, we help each other out, and like our refugee campaign, some of our elected officials may not be doing what we wish, what we want them to do, but we're active. We get out there and we fight for what we believe in right. We fight in that fair go for everybody, and I really deeply believe that. And it's something my father always instilled in me. I mean, my dad, in his fruit shop, he had, politicians coming to his shop, the local garbos, the police, the inspector, and Dad had behind his counter, he had a big stash of scotch and a cool room full of beer. So the boys would come in, they were mostly young men, and the garbos, didn't matter who they were, but they go out the back and they'd have a few drinks with my father. So that was in the good old days where, everyone, it was a good sense of community, and everybody looked after each other. And I think that has come back around now, and that's the positive about COVID. There's also obviously the negative side to it, but the positive about COVID is it has brought us together. And when you think about it, I was talking to a lady, Tony, just at Kiama Downs this morning at the surf club, and Tony was telling me, she said, Liz, it's the first time ever that her whole family have connected on Zoom. She said, and normally we hardly talk to each other all year except for birthdays. And she said, suddenly we're on a regular basis, we're Zooming. And she said, I've become more connected with my family. And I'm finding the same thing actually, which is a great thing that, where we are coming together a lot more and we're valuing, our neighbours, our family, our elders, and our officials as well. I'm so warmed and honoured and extremely grateful to have these couple of days here in what I call absolute paradise. It's one of the best places on the planet, Kiama, and I've loved every minute of it. And the Mayor and Councillor Mark have been, and their lovely wives have been looking after us, and the lovely councillors. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful Australia Day. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and thank you so much for having me, everyone. Thank you.
Wow. Gee, I'm glad I didn't do the bio now. We'd be still here. But fantastic, Liz. Really, really enjoyed that. Okay, now to our awards. So these awards pay tribute to people in our community who've gone above and beyond to help improve the lives of others and contribute to our municipality. So our first award this year is our Community Group of the Year. So our Community Group of the Year is Makuta. Congratulations, Makuta. Come up. So if the people representing Makuta could come up, are we here? Are they here? The Makuta people? Dave, Rachel and Belinda felt they needed to act to bring our community together and support each other whilst raising awareness and funding for youth suicide prevention. They formed Makuta and they made masks and more masks. It was an immense commitment. Makuta started their fundraising by making COVID-19 face masks, which were in short supply. The making and selling of the mask itself brought people together at Sowing Bees and the Kiama Farmers Market, where they could connect and support each other while also helping our community deal with the pandemic. Local schools from Warilla to Nowra also became involved, providing further fundraising as well as important connections during a challenging time. They have branched out from selling masks to other initiatives such as Push-Ups with a Purpose Challenge. Through the web and social media, Makuta has also connected with thousands of people Australia-wide. Makuta has also expended considerable effort determining how best to invest the funds they are raising. Their objective is to support existing sustainable programs that are prepared and rolled out by professionals. They are working with Kiama High School on a youth mental health first aid model, which they intend to extend to other schools. Dave, Rachel and Belinda all have jobs, children and busy lives, which makes their efforts and achievements all the more extraordinary. Thanks to Makuta, they are a worthy recipient of our Community Group of the Year for 2021. Well done. Yep. And I'd now like to call on Rachel to say a few words.
Thank you, Mark. Firstly, a big thank you to Kiama Council for your recognition. The reason we are standing here today is not because our amazing friend Belinda Krull over here came up with the ingenious idea to sell community-made masks during COVID. Belinda, like many of us, was deeply impacted by the loss of young lives in our community and wanted to do whatever she could to help. The reason we are here today is because this wonderful community, responded to our call for help and delivered in ways and means that exceeded all our expectations. The list of individuals and businesses who have gone to extraordinary lengths to support this crucial cause is too long to read today. But every single one of you, from grandmothers sewing masks until they're falling asleep at the sewing machine, grandfathers personally delivering masks to households to save us on postage, amazing mums riding their bikes around the steep hills of Kiama to deliver masks, Camilla from the Reduce, Reuse, Recyclable group pulling together COVID-safe sewing bees within 24 hours of hearing about our cause, dads and kids turning up in droves to help trace, cut and thread elastic, dads of course with one eye on the footy and a beer close by, Maggie Dent feeding our production line of mask-making troops with her delicious homemade cakes. Schools diverting their textiles curriculums overnight to make masks. The never-ending piles of fabric donations from individuals and businesses, including Ned Jeffries, of course, from South Coast Podiatry, who is here today. Our local gym, One Fitness, orchestrating a push-ups challenge, raising $10,000 for mental health. A mum running her first ever marathon, raising $1,500. And of course, the formidable Trisha Ashelford, who we all know and love, who had the Bugle, Win News and Illawarra Mercury booked in to come to the Kiama Farmers Markets and a stall set up for us before Belinda had finished saying Makuta. Thanks to our affiliation with SPAN, the Shoalhaven Suicide Prevention Awareness Network, and our wonderful advisory board, comprised of industry professionals and a Kiama High student, Makuta serves as a trusted, transparent platform for the community, delivering on our promise to only spend the money where it is needed the most in our community. All our heroes in the medical and mental health arena are on the front line dealing with mental health, drugs and suicide every day. They see the impact this has on families, friends and communities, and they know they can't fight this problem alone. They need our help. Makuta was born because everyone has a story. And when the community comes together with solidarity, strength and compassion to support and listen to each other, the magic happens. Every single child deserves a bright future with hope and opportunity. Our mission is to make this happen in our community today, tomorrow, and long into the future. Thank you.
So as Makuta leave the stage here, give them another round of applause. They've had their photo. Okay, our second award for this year is our Senior Citizen of the Year. And it goes to a very worthwhile winner, Evelyn Berry. If Evelyn could come forward, please. Evelyn Berry's career as a nurse and midwife has taken her from her hometown of Glen Innes to Papua New Guinea and finally here in Kiama. Evelyn started her work here with the Illawarra Community Health Service at Dapto before being promoted to clinical oncology nurse consultant with the Illawarra Area Health Service. Many hundreds of families throughout the Illawarra will never forget her relentless caring and determination to help them in a time when cancer care services were almost non-existent. She fought hard for every service she thought necessary and played a prominent role in the establishment and the growth of the Illawarra Cancer Care Centre. While giving her all to every one of her patients, her particular interest was children. Taking a group of local cancer kids to a camp run by Camp Quality in Sydney in 1985. She came back determined to establish a group in the Illawarra and South Coast. Evelyn established working committees in Illawarra and Shoalhaven and was the driving force to get the first camp underway. She missed her target of $10,000, having to settle for $300,000 instead. Camp Quality Illawarra South Coast was established, and Evelyn remained involved for more than 20 years, always a volunteer, earning a place in the hearts of hundreds of children and their families. She is devoted to the Kiama Uniting Church and as a church elder has provided pastoral care for the less fortunate members of our community, especially refugees. Evelyn also managed to turn adversity into in her personal life into an opportunity to serve her community. When her late husband was diagnosed with dementia, Evelyn threw herself into learning as much as possible about the disease, care and treatment to care for him, and in turn becoming a supporter of our dementia awareness group, the Kiama DAGs. Evelyn Berry is a loving, caring and amazing member of the Kiama community and a very worthy recipient of our Senior Citizen for 2021. And would you like to... Is that the right height there for you?
Yes, thank you very much. I firstly would like to honour those first Australians on whose land we stand and have to personally apologise to those who may have been hurt by any of my ancestors. I was so glad to see Auntie Joyce here this morning because I've had the privilege of working with her many years ago and she has always held a very special place in my heart. I'm feeling very honoured to be here today and I feel very humbled when I know of the amazing people in this wonderful town who work so hard for others and deserve to be recognised before me. I think each of us have to just look at our parents, our grandparents, and ask them their stories, and you'll find that I'm just one of hundreds of people who reach out and care and touch and be there for others. When you hear about the Makuta people, you can see what Kiama is. What a wonderful place. How special when something happens that these people come together, and you would have heard that there were many older citizens like me behind the sewing machines, the cars, making sure that things were made and delivered. I was fortunate and blessed in my work life to be in the right place to be of service to others. Those I had the honour to care for will always be important to me. I always felt blessed to be allowed into their lives and to have the opportunity to find ways to make a difference in some way. Those diagnosed with cancer in any form needed to feel as if they could regain some control of their lives, and sometimes I had the opportunity and resources to help. Dignity and self-value are essential to each one of us. Finding one's way to regaining them is assisted by the chance to share with others dealing with similar issues. Groups can be of value to many. Others choose different routes. A simple idea many years ago was encouraging people with a cancer diagnosis to join a painting group. This group is probably 20 years old now. Proof that everyone can be together and travel and support and care for each other. That group was supposed to last 6 weeks till they could join something else, and they all ganged up and said no. For the children with cancer diagnosis that we as a group managed to extract from their loving families and take to Camp Quality, life changed dramatically. Those children, many now adults with children of their own, are lodged forever in my heart and in the heart of those that had to share that time with them. The parents and siblings, grandparents also became our family. All of us, the companions, many 18-year-olds whom I absolutely adore, who had never looked after anyone
let alone caring for a sick child. I mean, they didn't even know how to find their food or clean their rooms. But they became our companions for the children. After the third day, they were usually so exhausted they couldn't keep their eyes open because it was a 24-hour job. The other people were the adventure guys, the kitchen staff, the crafty ones, the medical team of nurses and doctors. They were all volunteers. It changed our lives, and we know it changed the kids' lives. And we hope families truly felt cared for and not alone in the battle they faced. I was one person who, like Lorraine Ettinghausen, was given a chance to share in this amazing time. We didn't need recognition or reward. Every one of us was blessed to be part of the lives of those families. You only had to be present at a concert times, goodbye times at the end of camps, and sadly, at final farewells for children who died, to know how honoured we all felt. In receiving this honour, I represent every volunteer or caregiver who had the unique opportunity to reach out to the fellow man in some way. Caring for someone with dementia of any form, such sadness as you look into their eyes, desperately wanting to know what pain is there that they can't express. Our town is full of wonderful senior citizens doing just that. We need to stand by them and help fight for more services. My husband died 4 weeks ago. I know that pain. But I only stand here as a representative of every senior citizen in this town, this special town of ours. Thank you.
Wow, don't we have some amazing people in our town? Okay, to our third award for this morning. This is to our Youth Citizen of the Year. So, Jordan Casson-Jones, could you come up to the stage, please? Jordan Casson-Jones exemplifies the adage, cometh the hour, cometh the man. A former Kiama High student who is now studying IT at TAFE while working at McDonald's, he still has plenty of time for his extensive network of friends. A tragic loss of a number of local young people to suicide has proven a catalyst for many in our community to step forward, including Jordan. Jordan was interviewed by the Daily Telegraph about the tragedies as a typical young person of our municipality. His actions since that time have been anything but typical, doing his own research about how to assist in a mental health crisis. He helped a work colleague showing signs of depression with advice from staff at Central Youth Services. Then in October this year, Jordan saw a worrying social media post a friend had made that alerted him to his friend's mental health. Jason asked if his friend was okay, but he was not convinced by their response. He called Lifeline for advice, and following instructions, it was a call that saved his friend's life. I'd like to quote that friend who is now recovering. I'm so thankful you were one of my mates, because when I was going through some hard times, you were there to support me. You knew something was wrong, and if it wasn't for you, I guess I wouldn't be here. So thanks so much for helping me. Jordan's actions were simple but effective and show how we can all be the very best of friends in the worst of years. By investing himself in the challenges facing his friends and colleagues is anything but simple. It is extraordinary. Jordan Casson-Jones is a very worthy recipient of our Youth Citizen of the Year for 2021. And Jordan's going to say a few words now with the help of Liz, is he?
Well, I guess it's kind of taught me that, even though you ask people how they're doing, they don't really fully give their honest response. So you got to kind of look out for the signs rather than just trusting in them, because when someone's going through something like that, they aren't really in the right frame of mind to seek help for themselves if they're that bad. So you kind of have to step up and do it for them. And that's just kind of made me to realize that. And it was a very nerve-wracking thing to do, but it's something that I think everyone needs to know how to do and what to do in a situation like that, because it's very important and it could save someone's life.
Thank you, Mum and Dad. You did.
Thank you, Jordan, and well done again. And our final award for 2021, but not the least, is our Citizen of the Year, and it's Tricia Ashelford. So would Tricia please come forward? To say most people in our community know Tricia Ashelford would be an understatement. A friendly face around town, Tricia manages the not-for-profit Kiama Farmers Market, which has quickly become a much-loved Wednesday afternoon fixture. Tricia has made the market an important outlet for local food producers, as well as an amazing community hub where people shop, eat and socialise. Tricia has also made the farmers market a focal point for charity fundraisers, such as with a pink market for breast cancer, beanies for brain cancer, Cupid Undies Run for MS, and most recently helping with the Makuta Mast to support youth mental health. The past year, when things have seemed at their worst, Tricia has been at her very best. During the summer bushfires, she made the markets a drop-off point for donations of bottled water and arranged for them to be delivered to our firefighters down the coast. She also arranged donations of fruit and vegetables to be made into food garlands for wildlife remaining in burnt-out forests. At the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, Tricia went above and beyond to ensure that the farmers market remained open, allowing locals to still get their local produce and support our farmers. It was no mean feat to adapt the format of the markets to meet rapidly changing health orders over weeks and months, but she did it. And the farmers market soon became an important place where people could experience the simple pleasure of shopping and catching up with friends, neighbours and family without a screen. While she would be the first to share the credit with the others who make the weekly markets happen each Wednesday, there is no doubt who is the driving force behind the much-loved and important Kiama institution. Tricia Ashelford is a worthy recipient of our Citizen of the Year award. Well done, Tricia.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the distinguished guests, Mark, Honey and Mark. To all my family and friends, thank you so much for being here, and to all the community, I guess. I have to echo Evelyn's comments that I feel incredibly honoured, but also very humble to be standing up here to be receiving this award. And when you called me back in December and gave me a heads up, I was like, oh, yeah, I can process that. But I hadn't processed it, and I still haven't really quite processed it. And the amount of beautiful comments and messages I've received over the last few days has just been so overwhelming. It's truly, truly humbling. I can't thank you all enough. I feel like I've already won the jackpot though. Like, I live in Kiama, let's face it, we've all won the jackpot because we live here. And we live in this fantastic, vibrant community, and we get to share this beautiful location day in, day out. So for me, I already feel like I'm a winner. And you know, this is an amazing award, but I have to say that it's not mine alone, because I do work with amazing people. I mean, every week, Jen Hampshire's there right beside me. Gillian Murray's right beside me. The team that come down and help us set up our amazing committee. You know, Cressida from Pecora Dairy and Michael from Pecora Dairy, they're here. Kellen Marler from The Pines, Fiona and Adam from Buena Vista Farm, Kathy previously. I mean, Kathy was the driving force. Kathy Law was the driving force that even got this farmers market off the ground to start with. You know, so there's amazing people out there that are the driving force behind this, and I just happen to get to go along each week and really just hang out with my community. So I feel like, once again, I've hit the jackpot there. When COVID came, I mean, it's been a shocking year, a bloody horrible year, but we just felt that it would be just too easy to fold up and, you know, just closed down for a period of time. It was really important for our farmers and makers to still have a livelihood, to still be able to have an income. So that was first and foremost where we were coming from. We had to keep going. But it also became really apparent that people were isolated at that time. You know, they were at home, they were scared, they were worried, they were confused. It was such an unknown time for all of us. So we really felt it was our duty to bring the community together in the safest possible way that we can. And I can't thank one man enough, and he's here today as well, Des Whittingslow, who's from Splashdown Events. I mean, you've all been to the market and you've washed your hands on those amazing hand washing stations. I mean, Des and his wife Celia were the first ones to say, you're going to have a trailer and you're going to have some hand washing stations, and they'll be arriving this week and you're going to use them. And for us, that's just been a saving grace for us. And he's generously given us those. We could never have afforded to rent them each week, but Des, in his trials and tribulations with his events business, put us first, and he basically got us across the line with all our safety measures, and then we just went from there and adapted each week to make it as safe as possible for everyone to come along, to see their family and friends, to, you know, if you couldn't touch someone, at least you could be in the close proximity to someone and connect and sort of share your stories and try and understand what this pandemic was all about, I guess. But also you were getting really fantastic produce, you're outside, and it was just a way to connect, and that's what we're most proud of. In a couple of weeks' time, the market will celebrate its 7th birthday, and we are so proud of that. You know, rain or shine, there's not many days of the year on a Wednesday that the farmers market doesn't run, and it's a big thank you to our community for coming along and supporting us, even on those horrible wet days when it's not so fun to be outside and it's winter and it's cold. But, you know, we wouldn't come along and do it each week if we didn't have the support of our community, and that's what it's all about. So for me, I feel once again very humbled and honoured to be standing up here to receive this award, but once again I still feel like I'm the luckiest person because I live here, I live amongst you, and I have an amazing group of friends and family. And before I forget, I almost did, I want to thank my amazing husband Michael. Poor Michael. Poor Michael gets dragged into so many market situations, whether it's picking up signs or picking up tents or whatever it may be, dropping off produce to people in Nowra on his way to work. He does it all without a question, without any sort of complaint at all. His garage is full of my market. Well, I would say a different word, but the nuns are in the room and they're small children, so I'll just say stuff. It is full to the brim with market stuff. And he, you know, he just smiles and nods his head, and the fact that he can't get in his own garage to use it is, you know, testament to the man that he is. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. He's so supportive, and I couldn't do this without him. So thank you, honey. I love you very much, and thank you. So I'll end now, and thank you to all the council staff for putting on this wonderful day. It truly, truly is an honour, and enjoy your Australia Day. So, yeah, cheers. Don't forget to come on Wednesday. It will be wet.
Wow, that's the end of our award part. But just before that, I'd like to make a presentation to Liz Deep-Jones for helping make today special. And wasn't it special? Gee, we were lucky. I think we got the prize there. So thanks for coming. I'd like to present her with a small token from with there. So please join in thanking me for having. We had Liz here today to help us out. Thanks, Liz. And now we're going to be doing the citizenship ceremony. So I'd like to invite the Mayor, Mark Honey, to take over. Thank you, Mark.
Again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to see so many citizenship candidates here today. As Mayor, this is one of the most pleasurable roles I have, and I would like to congratulate each of you on your decision to becoming an Australian citizen, a decision welcomed not only by me, but by all Australians. Citizenship is a common bond which unites all Australians, whether they are Australian traditional inhabitants, first-generation migrants, or the descendants of early settlers. Our rich heritage stems from the contribution made from us all. This citizenship ceremony is conducted under the authority of the Minister for Immigration and Border Protection, and is prescribed by the Australian Citizenship Act 1948. As presiding officer, I have been approved under the Act to administer the pledge of commitment as citizen of the Commonwealth of Australia, which is your final step in becoming an Australian citizen. I will now invite the Federal Member Fiona Phillips to read a special message from the Minister of Multicultural Affairs and the Honourable David Cameron.
Thank you. Becoming an Australian citizen does not mean forgetting your country of birth or the country where you grew up, its customs and culture. What it means is a public commitment to embracing Australian values and institutions. Citizenship brings responsibilities and duties to obey the laws, to register on the electoral roll and to vote, to serve on a jury if called to do so, and to defend Australia should the need arise. Citizenship also brings civil and social rights, the right to express your cultural heritage and beliefs, coupled with a responsibility to accept the rights of others to express their heritage and beliefs. The act of acquiring Australian citizenship is a solemn act of law and a public declaration of your commitment to Australia. You are about to undertake that new commitment and accept a new responsibility.
Thank you. I will now ask those who are taking the oath under God to stand if you are able. And please take the Bible in your right hand and repeat after me. From this time forward under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Thank you. Please be seated. I will now ask those citizens who are taking the citizenship affirmation to stand if they're able. Please repeat after me. From this time forward, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Thank you. Please be seated. I will now ask Councillor Westhoff to call you forward one by one to receive your citizenship certificate. And once you have received your certificate, please return to your seat. Deputy Mayor Andrew Slane, can you come?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully I'll get all your names correct. If I mispronounce them, I apologise. So I'd like to first call up Andrea Arndt Jackman to the stage. Our next new citizen, Claudia Basler Forbes. Thank you, Claudia. Our next citizen, Melissa Cave. Our next person up is David Evans. COVID, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Could we have up now Linda and Dennis Horton? I'd like now to call up Yen Su Lo. Kay Lord. Mariah McDonald. Dawn Manette. Vasu Pillay. Colin and Alison Robertson. Tim Rushby Smith. And our last citizen for today, but not least, Susanna Vlokova.
I will now sign the Australian Citizenship Pledge verification document, which will return to the Department of Home Affairs, advising of your participation today. The act of law is now complete. On behalf of all Australians, I congratulate you on becoming an Australian citizen and hope you have a happy and successful future as citizens of Australia. And I would like to invite all present to congratulate everyone and show their appreciation with acclamation. We're lucky today to have the talented Penny Hartgenig to sing Australian Advance Australia Fair. Unfortunately, due to COVID, group singing is not allowed, which is probably good for... I invite you all to stand, if you're able, for our national anthem. No singing. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. If you please sit, and we'll close. In closing, your Australian citizenship is a symbol of your commitment to Australia and your formal membership into the Australian community. Australia gives all Australians the opportunity to live and to grow in a free and open society and to share the common good. In return, we owe Australia our duty as good neighbours and good citizens. Thank you again and congratulations to all of the new citizens. I'd also like to take this time to thank the Australia Day Committee, who have put on such a terrific event, considering all of the COVID restrictions that we've had to go through, not knowing whether or not we could hold it. So to the committee, the chairman, Councillor Mark Westhoff, Deputy Mayor Andrew Sloan, the staff members, Kathy Bax, Brent Blackburn, and none of this could have happened really without the frenetic effort of Emily Vaughan. So to all of those members of that committee, thank you very much. That wraps up our formal celebrations, and I now invite you to enjoy morning tea. Unfortunately, due to COVID, there is to be no mingling, and I can see I've got that under control. So please remain seated, and you will be served by the staff. You will be invited table by table to the tea and coffee stations. We will also, I won't be, but someone will be inviting our new recipients table by table to have photographs taken. And so we will be able to bring you up, do the photographs in the flags and in front of Queen Elizabeth. Also, outside we have Ray from the Electoral Office in the foyer to accept electoral forms for those new citizens so that they can get enrolled straight away to vote. I wish you all a happy and safe Australia Day. Thank you. Ah, man.